Well, a Morning Rush update now on a story that we've been covering today. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer will kick off a new campaign to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. Schumer, also former Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, and ERA advocates will launch an online petition calling for ratification.
The amendment would enshrine language into the Constitution banning all forms of discrimination based on sex and guaranteeing equal rights for women. The first version of the ERA was introduced 100 years ago, and 38 states needed to ratify it for it to be added to the Constitution. That didn't happen until 2020, when Virginia's legislature voted in favor of the measure. But that vote came long after a 1982 deadline set by Congress.
Legislation has been proposed to officially remove the deadline for the ERA, but it has yet to come up for a vote.
So joining us this morning is Zakiya Thomas, the president and CEO of the ERA Coalition. Zakiya, thank you so much for coming on again. You are in New York and will be at today's launch of this petition. Tell us more about why it's happening now and why it's happening in New York.
Well, thanks again for having me. So it's happening now in New York because former Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, along with students at Grove scholar students here at Hunter College, are launching a petition drive to raise awareness about the Equal Rights Amendment, to raise awareness about the vote that is pending in the Senate, and to get more people engaged and excited about the work and about the Equal Rights Amendment.
And how does the 14th Amendment, which of course protects against discrimination based on sex, differ from what the ERA does?
So the 14th Amendment actually doesn't provide guarantees against discrimination based on sex. So the Equal Rights Amendment would be the 28th Amendment to the Constitution, which would guarantee protection against discrimination on the basis of sex. So that means whether you're a man, woman, if you're transgender, you would be protected because the Equal Rights Amendment provides for the Congress to create laws that would help protect against discrimination and gives the courts a tool that they can use to fight back against discriminatory practices that are already in place.
So something, of course, that's been in the news quite a lot yesterday and has been a hot button topic has been the focus on abortion access. And given your expertise here, how could ratifying the ERA protect abortion rights? How does those two pieces fit together?
So as I mentioned, the Equal Rights Amendment really does provide a foundation against discrimination. So it would empower Congress and the states to enact laws that would protect against discrimination. So if discrimination on the basis of abortion, because those who are pregnant, there's a specific category of people who can become pregnant. And so the ERA in and of itself isn't going to completely and immediately wipe away the ability to prevent against abortion. But what it would do is provide a standard for Congress to step in to say, these are the laws that we're going to put in place that will actually take effect and protect people's right to bodily autonomy, to equal pay, and to protection against violence.
And at the end of the day, in terms of governing in our country, changing the Constitution probably is the politically hardest thing to do, because it takes such a groundswell of support. On this issue, though, 3/4 of our states have already ratified the ERA, but it gets in the weeds of a 40-year-old deadline and that kind of issue here. So is there really a next, basically saying, you missed the deadline, so no, we can't do it now. The National Archivist is refusing to do it, to add it as an amendment. So do you have any real hope this will one day be in our Constitution, or is it just kind of a bunch of political theater up until then?
Well, think of it this way. If it really was just political theater, there wouldn't be such opposition to having equality added to our Constitution. But to get to the core of your point, if Congress can add an extension or a deadline to an amendment to the Constitution and then extend that deadline, it also has the power to remove that deadline. And really what we're asking for Congress to do, we have resolutions in both the House and the Senate that say that not only has the Equal Rights Amendment been affirmed that it is part of our law, that it has met all of the requirements needed to be added to the Constitution, but that deadline is notwithstanding because Congress has the ability to remove that deadline. So right now, the ball is in Congress's court.
And so in 2 or 3 words, then, describe what the main roadblock is. Because you can't get 3/4 of the country to agree that the sky's blue.
Right. So right now, it's that those resolutions pending in Congress, and we're looking forward to having a vote in the Senate in the coming weeks. And so once we have that vote to show that we have overwhelming bipartisan support, not only in Congress but also in the general public, that's really what we need to have happen so that we can affirm that the Equal Rights Amendment is law and the archivist is empowered to add it to the Constitution.
All right, Zakiya Thomas, President and CEO of the ERA Coalition. Once again, thank you for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.